transformations. All right, so I have put the objectives on every screen because they want our objectives posted. So we're going to summarize investigations in the investigation booklet. We did not do that. So let's see what we can do. And isometry means what? We talked about this a lot. I introduced this word early. Isometry means, what does an isometry do? The transformation of what? What kind of figures? Transformation of, and what's special about the triangles? So they're going to have, how about corresponding sides are all going to be equal? Not necessarily all in one figure, but the sides will be equal length, the angles will be equal measure. So it's transformation of congruent. That's a congruent symbol. Let me write this. Congruent figures. All right. An isometry preserves what? Length and what kind of measure? Angle measure. If you look at your foldable on translations, rotations, and reflections, were those two, all three of them? Now, composition, that means doing two or more isometries. Let's say you take a figure and you translate it, then rotate it, then flip it. It's still an isometry. And the word isometry just means that when you're finished, the figure is the same size and shape. All it has done is moved, but it's still the same size and shape. Another word that this, and this may be more of a common core word, is rigid. If something is rigid, it doesn't change shape. Your desk is rigid. Anybody ever see mercury? That's what used to be the red stuff in a thermometer. It's like a little glob. It wiggles and it changes its shape. All right, who can name one isometry? Translation. Okay. Another one. Reflection. With a capital R, right? Okay. And then we've got rotation with a lowercase r. And one we have not, but we're going to look at today, is called a glide reflection. So a glide reflection is a composite. It's made up of a reflection. Now, what do you think glide brings to mind? A translation. That's good. Glide. If you glide, you kind of slide. So this is going to be a composition of a translation and reflection. If you walk on the beach in the wet sand, your footprints are a glide reflection. They're opposite, right? And one's in front of the other. One's, you'd have to translate and then flip. Any questions so far? All right. So, foldable. I'm not sure. Hold on. Let's see what we're going to do. Write these notes on the reflection column. Okay. We're on glide reflection. Can anybody guess the first fill in the blank? Yeah. Glide reflection is in, actually this is our last one, by the way. The next one will not be. All right, I bet you can fill in this blank. Length. Next one. What kind of measure? Angle measure. All right, now, the fact that it has the word reflection in it. You see it has the word reflection? What does reflection do to orientation? It changes it, correct? So since a glide reflection is part reflection, it's going to change the orientation of the vertices. You ready to look at notation? Okay, so let's look at this. Capital R means what? Reflection. Capital T means what? Translation, and this means composition. Now, when we do this, we always work from the right to the left. Consider this inside to the outside. Okay? Do you see how the T is sandwiched between this parenthesis of W and that R? That's the inside. So we start with the inside, we work to the outside. What this means is translate W, X units in what direction? Right, left, depending on the positive, negativeness. And the Y means what? Up, down. That's the T part. Then reflect this image that you've just translated over, what do we have? X equals P. So it means you do the translation, then you take that image and then you flip it. That's a line like X equal 2. That would be a vertical line. Okay, it could have said Y equals 4. That would be a horizontal line. That line. Maps each point of the pre-image to only one point. And I don't think we study anything that does any. I think they're all only one. All right, so this next one we should already be able to fill in based on our notation up here. Glide reflection is a composition of a reflection and translation. Now, where was this hint? In the capital R and the capital T. Which is your favorite isometry? Translation? What's your second favorite? Notation? Especially if it's on a coordinate plane. If it's not on a coordinate plane, then I'd go with the reflection. All right, are we good? Let's see what we're going to do. Composition of reflections across two parallel lines is a translation. Now, this goes on notebook paper. No. Oh, wow, look what I did. I got everything all smushed up. I don't know why I had that twice. E on the foldable is it's a composition of reflection and translation. So now, let me put in two parallel lines. We have two parallel lines. So if I were to take this figure, okay, and I were to reflect it over this line, there's a flip. We're going to flip left, right. Oh, darn it. Okay, just a minute. I have to clone it. It just went away. Let's undo this. All right. So I should be able to clone. There we go. So now if I were to take this and I were to flip it, that would be a reflection. Do you agree it's going to look something like that? Does that look about, actually that's not really well reflected, is it? Is that more well reflected-ish? Does that look more like a reflection? Okay. So now if I were to take this and clone it, and I were to flip this over this line, does that kind of sort of look like a reflection? Does that look about equidistant? Then basically, if we look at this figure to this figure, it is just a what? Should be just a translation if I've reflected well. So composition of reflections across two parallel lines is a translation. So look at our notation. This says reflect over P first, reflect over M second. Or it could be written this way, where it's the reflection over line M of the reflection over line P of triangle ABC. This is where we do, it's still a composition. We're all about compositions today, where we're doing two or more transformations. The inside-most reflection is performed first. In the notation above, that would be over the line P. Okay, that would be over the line P. And this is important for your algebra too, because you'll be doing compositions of functions, and you'll be doing the inside function before you do the outside function. So this is the inside, this is the outside. This is the first one you perform, this is the second one you perform. This is the inside, this is the outside, which makes this the first, which makes this the second. One of the most important things I can stress for you all today. So if we look at this, who is first? Is over what line? Over N. And secondly, you'll do it over A. All right. MJ gets it. I need another volunteer. Who's first? Kayla E., who's going to be first? Over C, and the second one will be over K. Correct. All right, on this one, Samantha, first. This bottom one. Yep. And the second one is going to be over. Yes. Okay, now you try. You've got, looks like 3, but I don't know what happened to number 3. Yes. So on your papers, 1, 2, 3. I want to know what's first and then what's second. Looks like Devon's finished. MJ's finished. Kayla's finished. Hope's finished. Karen's finished. Brittany's finished. So number 1, who would be first? Who would be second? 2, who would be first? Who would be second? And then 3. I want more pencils to stop before we go do this. Here, it looks like Eric's ready. Where? There's a Z and a B. That little, there is a black O-looking thing, which is the composition symbol. That's not a line. You need glasses. That's a Z, and that's a B. Yeah, Carlin, what is this? Wow, that's an H and that's a U. You don't see the H at all? You see this one? What are you going to do tonight when you go home?
Tell my mom I need glasses. She doesn't help believe me.
Carlin, bring them tomorrow. We'll do an experiment. Carlin, I want to see them tomorrow. We're gonna do an experiment. We're gonna come back to this slide. We'll say, Carlin, what is this letter? I'm not gonna tell you now. All right. So, Nick, on this one, what's first? Oh, I thought you raised your hand. Oh, higher? I know you have it. I gotta look at others. Bree, number 1. What's first? Yes. Second? Right. Okay. Caitlin, what's first? The U, and then the H. So we reflect over U, then we reflect over H. McKenna, what is this one? B, then W. All right. So that's critical on what we do. So I have a sketchpad demo. Wow, and it ran into this. Here's the situation. Here's the triangle. I reflected it over C, then I reflected it over J, then K, and notice it moves. Now, the distance from A to B is 10.8. The distance between the parallel lines is 5.4. How far did the figure actually move, though? How far did A move to get to B? 10.8 units. What's the distance between the parallels? 5.4. So what if this distance was 8? What would this distance be? 16. All right, let me see if I should have saved those sketchpad demonstrations. It's really cool. Composition, there we go. All right, so if I make this bigger, so Carlin can see. All right, so look what happens if I were to drag this line. Okay? Didn't change this reflection at all, did it? But it changed this one. Let's see, I don't know if I can get a pretty number or not. Okay, so look at the distance between the parallels is 9.08, but the distance between A and B is what? 18. It is double, isn't it? So the distance. So if I asked you what is the distance from A to B, if you knew the distance from C to D, what would you have to do? Okay, so if I told you, I don't have a pen. If I told you, we'll just play here. If I told you that this was 10, this distance would be 20. If I told you this distance was 50, this distance would be, okay. The length of the translation, here's where we're going to write it down. The length of the translation made by a composition of 2 reflection over parallel lines is double the distance between the what? Right. Double the distance between the parallels. Double the distance between the parallels. So it says draw two parallel lines on a sheet of patty paper. Remember, you can do that with your ruler. Label the left line J, the right line K. Draw the letter N between the parallel lines and perform the following composition. How do we reflect? Do you remember how we do that? If these are parallel and I do the letter N, how do I do a reflection? What must be, I think I'm going to need a compass to do this. What do I need from this vertex? What am I going to need? Isn't it a perpendicular line? All right, before you go, I want you to pick up a book. On the assignment sheet, I will let you know what your assignment is. But before you go, I need you to grab one of these. This is a practice booklet, and I'm going to assign review on the translations, rotations, and what else do we do? Reflections. So you'll have to go online on the assignment, not on the spreadsheet, but it's going to be on the other one down. I'll call it 33.5. If you've signed up for Remind 101, I'll also send it out on Remind 101. I haven't decided yet. It's going to be in this booklet, though. You're not going to do A34. Oh, okay, give me a minute. Let me get this. Yeah, we didn't do. We skipped that one. These are consumable. Did you get one, Sydney? Nick, have you gotten one? Okay. You will not be doing A34. I don't know. I'll have to look that up. I'll send out a Remind 101, but I'll also put it on this